Hi, Tabisu Njoroge is my name. Welcome back. We are doing a series on loss and grief, and the last time we talked about what is loss, what is grief, and the different stages. And on this particular video, I'll tackle the two issues that I mentioned I will handle: loss in children, and how, as a counselor, I can assist an individual process the loss using a model by J. Williams Warden, and it's known as the 4 tasks. So I'll begin with children and loss, and I'll just mention some things that you as a guardian or you as the individual who is handling a child who has gone through loss can help them go through that process. The last time we emphasized that it is very, very important to process the loss. Go through the process, because if you don't go through the process, it makes it difficult for you to cope healthily with a particular loss. So for children, it is important to help them know why the loss happened. They often ask questions as to why did they have to go, why did they have to leave me, why are they not back? So it is important to help them understand the why. Also, it is important to answer the question of the how. Many of the times they'll ask, how did it happen? Yes, they went to the hospital. They are not back. How did it happen? The dog went out, or my cat went out. It didn't come back. How? How did it disappear? How did it die? How did it get lost? All that. Help them answer the question of the how. Also explain to them what transpired. Give them the details. Give them details in a language in which they can understand, because they also have a way in which they can comprehend. So try as much as possible to answer those two, the why and the how. And this information should be broken in a language that the children can understand, just like I have mentioned. As you're trying to tell them that the person has died and they have gone to heaven, make them know, are they going to come back? They'll ask questions like those. Tell them in that language, tell them that they're not going to come back, or when someone goes to heaven, as you've had in Sunday school, this and this happened, and they are going to be in a place where there is no pain. You used to see them crying, you used to see them. Try and make them understand in a language that is very easy for them. So it is also important to now help them process the grief. And you can use the stages that I mentioned in the previous video. If you have not watched it, kindly go and watch it. It's on loss and grief. And now, as I mentioned, the 4 tasks. The first point, as a counselor, I'll help the client accept that the reality of the loss. When a loss has happened, the individual now gets to that point of understanding that the person is not going to come back, or the thing they have lost is not going to come back, and they start the journey of accepting that actually this is a reality. Remember, they have now moved beyond denial, and they're now starting to accept that the reality of the loss has happened. Number 2, you help them work through the pain of the grief. It is very, very important to go through the pain, because if you don't go through the pain, the process of grief becomes a challenge. Number 3, helping the client adjust to life without the deceased. And maybe there were things that the individual was doing. They were paying bills, they had businesses they were running, they had accounts that they were doing, they had positions that they were taking care of, they had family roles. So it is now time to adjust to life without that particular person. If it's the loss of a pet, or if it's the loss of your identity, how well can you now start adjusting to that thing that you have lost? If it's a job, how well now do you plan your day? You're not waking up as you used to go to work. How do you start adjusting? And the 4th one is you now help maintain, or rather help the individual maintain a pattern, or rather a connection with the deceased. And on this is on the coping. How well can you remember? How well can you commemorate the memories? How well can you remember the meals they loved, the times you guys cherished, especially on holidays, how well can you now still maintain the connection? Many of the times that people will throw away the clothes, they will throw away the wall hangings. When is the right time? Take your time again. And even seeing that wall hanging on that wall, it helps you maintain that connection. Cooking that favorite meal that they loved helps you maintain that connection. So, in conclusion, it is very important to involve children even during the loss, because if they do not process that grief, if they do not go through that process, if they're left with so many unanswered questions, they will go on in life, and the loss may become complicated because we have different types of grieving. There's acute, there is sudden, there is anticipatory, whereby you've seen someone go through a long-term illness, or they're having, maybe they went through an accident and you're seeing their health deteriorating. That it could be anticipatory grief. There's also anniversary grief, whereby if a particular event happens at a particular time, you remember when you lost your loved one. There's also disenfranchised grief, whereby other people do not acknowledge your loss as a loss. For instance, in mothers who have gone through miscarriage, for them that's a big loss. But other people out there may not see it as a loss per se. Disenfranchised can also be, I probably lose a pet, and different cultures value or rather acknowledge this differently. So someone may see it as not as a big loss, but for the particular individual, remember I said that grief is very unique. So the individual may be going through disenfranchised grief. There's also various types of grief. So it is very important to also acknowledge what type of grief are you going through. And for children, if they end up losing one thing after the other and they're not getting answers, it may actually complicate. And remember, we said loss can be an underlying issue. So as you're going through the loss, as you're trying to put that puzzle together, seek help, read, ask questions, reach out, because there's hope for as much as there is life. And for as much as loss is something that many people may not understand, and we have so many questions as you go by the day, remember you have sources. We have people who can be of help. We have people who can listen to you. We have people who can try and pick that feeling and help you process the grief. So thank you very much for watching this. Remember to subscribe and share what other counseling issues you'd like me to tackle. So thank you very much for watching this series on loss and grief, and have a wonderful evening, a wonderful day, a wonderful time, depending on the time you're going to be watching this. So remember, for counseling services, book via tskibera@gmail.com. And if you're not near Nanyuki, I can as well make referrals to a counseling psychologist, or rather a professional who can be of help to you. So bye bye. Thank you.